I'm Sue Howard, a retired pastoral associate for the Diocese of Rochester, and most recently from Blessed Sacrament, St. Mary's, and St. Boniface churches. Some of you have been following the restoration of this room from a children's playroom and then college playroom into my studio and prayer and study space. So I just wanted to give you a little update. This is my reading corner, prayer corner. We had to keep our beloved dartboard for family time. This will be my gallery wall behind me here. This is a work office space and also art space. So it transitions from office to art space with all my art supplies, and my music corner still in transition. Still have a lot of junk to get rid of. Boy, it takes a long time to shed. Anyway, today's homily is really intertwined a lot with last week's, where you had that misguided steward who did not return God's merciful debt forgiveness by sharing it with others. Didn't quite get the story right in his own self. Didn't internalize it. So this week, forgiveness kind of takes a different turn, and it's really an internal struggle that we need to deal with. So we could start with, it's just not fair that somebody that only worked a few hours gets paid the same amount as I do, and I work for 8 hours. Or you could be on the other side of that equation. You could be saying, how come I didn't get chosen? Why was I left behind? I need to make a day's wage too. What's wrong with me that I can't make a day's wage? So let's be clear. God's economy is not our economy. God is not does not work under capitalism or democracy or socialism or demagoguery or dictatorship. God's economy is beyond all our imagining. But he tries today, Jesus tries today to help us understand it. What's interesting in the story is the people just had to show up. There was no judgment on the folks that came. They weren't asked why they were late or why they weren't chosen. They weren't, didn't matter what color they were or what gender. They just showed up. And that's what's asked of us too. So let's just show up today and see if we can learn something new. But let's be realistic. To even catch a glimpse of the magnitude of God's ways, we have to delve into a process of Christian or religious imagination. And it might not be easy for us right now because our lives are kind of torn to pieces. The civil unrest that's going on, the myriad of conflicting messages that we're getting about how to combat this worldwide pandemic. We don't know how the global economy is going to be affected by this. We only know what we ourselves are experiencing and the economic losses that people that we know are experiencing. And then there's the reality of the loneliness and the social isolation and our loss of family and friends. So we know more than ever the interconnectedness that we yearn for and that peace of life, that peacefulness in our lives that we miss. This unrest, the civil unrest, is about old wounds, isn't it? Being chosen last for far too long. Let's consider these to be sacred wounds. Wounds that need healing with patience and tenderness. It may be a little difficult to enter into that right now with our own problems at the forefront, but our very existence as a civilized society is being tested today. We're going to have to really lean into this to learn something new, imagine something new. So how do we do that? First, we have to set aside our own egos and our own fears and our frustrations and just let them go. Because there's just no place in this learning environment where that is going to help us at all. We are going to need to open our hearts and make room for this new creation to be born out of chaos. Hence my tour of the room, it's coming. So this parable doesn't say that the workers were, why they were chosen last. It doesn't say that, as I said before. But God, the landowner, goes out to find them and invites them in. He lavishes them with the gift of a day's wages and asks nothing in return. Can you wrap your head around that? Wouldn't you like to be the beneficiary of that kind of generosity, of that kind of love? Dennis Turner writes about Thomas Aquinas' theology of friendship this way. Jesus proclaims that his disciples are called friends. This can only be because in some way, the radical inequality of the creator and the creature has been overcome. Because there is, as it were, a new creation, establishing a new order of relations between God and human beings. Since, however, there is no possibility that the inequality being leveled by the action on the part of the creature, it must be that the initiative has been taken on the part of God, entirely gratuitously, to make human creatures thus equal to the divine, so that friendship becomes a possibility between them. God makes them friends. They are taken up into the very life of God. God, the Creator, makes us his friends. By doing this, God is not only setting things aright and restoring the dignity and the worth of each of the workers, he is raising them up so that they can be in communion with all those who have always been the chosen ones. This is the kind of restorative justice that we are each called to be a part of. Doesn't it open your heart a little bit? Doesn't it? I want to be a part of the restoring of justice to the whole world. On another level, this parable ignites our religious imagination by using the image of a vineyard. It's clear in today's passage that the kingdom of heaven is equated with this vineyard and the vineyard owner who lavishes his love on the first and the last. If we are to be a part of that kingdom, to work for the kingdom that Paul suggests, what might I do today, this week, to invite someone into this divine friendship who may otherwise have been chosen last? See where God takes you this week. Hopefully, you will make a new friend that you can invite into the kingdom of God. God bless you. Have a beautiful week.